is up and how's it going? Welcome back to another edition of the Noble Steady Sort of Sports Talk. We're back again with a Dynasty Doctors because we're here in this little dead space where the dog days of summer. So we're just going to cover everything fantasy right now. I'm back with the other Dynasty Doctors, Shane O'Mac. Shane, how's it going, buddy?
What's up, brother? I love that intro. Good vibes all the way.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Get you nice and loose and ready to talk, hang out. And then, it's really perfect. And let's not forget our resident. I'm still keeping that until I don't know when. We'll figure out some kind of ceremony when you finally become a Dynasty Doctor. But Joey, what's up, buddy?
Man, my summer of soccer is almost over. So, yeah, I'm going to bring it there, Shane. I'm sorry. It has literally been that, all right? But I'm super excited for football this season. The Saints unveiled the new helmet.
No one cares.
You say that. They're bringing
I'll be
a
100%
jersey
honest
out
with you.
soon. I guarantee it.
I'll be 100% honest with you. And I'm a huge Saints fan.
If you say you hate that helmet, I swear to God.
I don't even say that I hate it. I don't care. It doesn't mean anything. Oh, cool. We get to wear a new helmet and wear our alternate jerseys. What, once? Because we don't have any primetime games. So, maybe let's actually play well. We'll wear it more and I'll actually give a shit. So, with that being said, let's get back to some positivity here. We're talking about best ball today. More deeper dive into fantasy for those degenerates that don't know what this is. Best ball is a format where you draft an entire team, and basically for each week, they're going to take the best scorer of that position on your team and count those points. So all the headaches of lineup decisions or, God, who am I going to start, blah, 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 goes out the window. Just more worried about drafting the team. But I'm going to tell you, our resident expert of the best ball is going to be Shane. So Shane, why don't you take it away? Give the people a little bit of a little preview of what we'll be talking about today, buddy.
Yeah, so there's a bunch of ways to approach this. There's 20 rounds. You're going to start a QB, 2 RBs, 3 wide receivers, a tight end, and a flex. So wide receivers are a little bit more of a premium. There's a couple different approaches you can do. 0 RB, hero RB, robust RB. You can go like hero quarterback, hero tight end.
Yep.
So there's a lot of different strategies. The pros are big on stacking. We can talk about that. They're big on the week 17 stack. So we'll dive into stacks in general, but there's some teams that they look at stacking. Not only you stack 2 or 3 people on that team, but you try to grab 1 or 2 people that they're versing, and it's based on totals, right? So like just a sneak peek, like the top stack of week 17 is the Bucks versus Miami. So you're trying to stack the Bucks. You're trying to maybe grab two Dolphins players because the over under on that game already is 48. So
yeah, I mean,
it's something I've done the past 3 years. I've kind of stumbled into it. I did a little bit the first year, won some money, I kind of got out of some leagues and put all the money into the best ball last year. Blew up in my face. I didn't win any money. And so I'm already about 30 drafts in so far this year.
Very nice. Very nice. I'm at a grand total of 0, but I have done best ball before. I did about 20, 25 last year. I actually came out with a $20 profit. So, you know what? I didn't win millions, but, I didn't lose any money on it last year. But Joey, we wanted to bring in a perspective of everybody. We got Shane, the expert. You got me who's dabbled in it and had experience in it. We got Joey with a fresh perspective. So, Joey, in your words, what do you know about best ball?
Basically what Shane kind of introduced it with, where you take the best scores of each position and that's your score for the week. You could pick it and forget it for the rest of the season. It's something that's piqued my interest. Like, I've heard some of the guys in our fantasy league talk about it, and I've definitely had the idea of like, hey, why don't I go just do one? Like, why not? Yeah. But I think it's just, I feel like I'm so invested in these 2 leagues that I'm already in. Again, pick it and forget it, right? But in the back of my head, I'm sitting there thinking like, I have to do something with that. So
you can't. That's the problem.
Yeah. I think in the back of my head, why I've sat there and not done is, like I said, I have this mindset of, I need to do something. Like, I might want to pick somebody else up or something like that. But as you said, once you draft it, that's it.
Yep, it's literally pick it and forget it, like you said. So we're gonna bring a fresh perspective from Joey's point of view. Like I said, got mine, and we got Shane's on this one. So let's just dive right into it. Most important thing, let's start talking about draft strategy. And one that's gonna come up that a lot of people really like to use, and I found is kind of really popular, is the hero RB build, right? Especially after last year, we had just bonkers seasons from some running backs. You know, a lot of people want to take that one early and just to get that stud and hope to ride that position out and then fill it out around them. Shane, what's your perspective on it?
So when we get into like fades, right? So so you don't get to pick your draft position in best ball, so you get slotted. So there's if really the only positions I'm probably drafting running back is probably in the 3, 4, 5 position, maybe, or later. So I'm fading Saquon. I'm not drafting him high. I would take a Chase or Jefferson. My top running back that I would do hero RB with, and I've done a couple builds, is Bijan. Maybe Gibbs, but as we get into this, you'll see a lot of people are fading the Lions this year, believe it or not. So you'll see the Amon-Ra's falling. You'll see Gibbs falls a little bit, not too much, but a lot of the hero RBs are your Saquon, your Bijan, Gibbs, like these guys in the first round or maybe second round. So like Genty fell to me in a draft earlier where he fell to 14. So where he's in the top 10 in most drafts, I took him as my 14th pick, and he was my hero RB. So the main thing going into any best ball draft is let the draft come to you, and then build your kind of like let your build go around what falls to you, because there's plenty of times. I think I was sitting at 9 the other day, and CeeDee Lamb fell, who depending on who you rank is a potential top 4 pick, 5 pick. So I took him. So you have to kind of let it fall to you a little bit. You're going to try to make some of these stacks, make some of these builds. They don't fall to you. People will like kind of cut you out of them. So it really just depends on how the draft falls.
Yeah, no. And let's talk about stacks for a second. Like just to kind of get the definition out of the way. So for those who don't know, and our beginners out there and everything, stacks, when we say stacks, we're referring to like having Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow, or having a Justin Jefferson, JJ McCarthy, or Christian McCaffrey and Brock Purdy. Those kind of things. Just having basically players on the same team, we're basically doubling up the points, right? If you get a Jamar Chase and a Joe Burrow, every time they score a touchdown, you're banking it twice, essentially. So that's what we mean when we say stacking. Now, don't get me wrong, stacking is a valuable thing to use, but it's also can be a little bit come back to bite you in the butt a little bit if you kind of build your whole team around it. You know what I mean? Like, because I've seen people get sniped before for players, and just you just can never tell. But Joey, so what do you think about the hero RB kind of strategy? Like, do you get a little nervous just taking one running back and then just figuring the other running backs out later?
I mean, it's like Shane said, from what I'm gathering, in this conversation, is it just depends how the draft goes. Ideally, when I draft, I try to get, I take care of my starters first, to an extent. I'm hoping that by round 9, my starters are done. But in this, if you're doing the hero running back, I feel like you're putting a little more emphasis on, okay, I want, say, a Christian McCaffrey and an Alvin Kamara if he falls, that far back wherever I'm at. I try to get, the first 2 rounds for me are typically, the running back, then wide receiver, if I can help it.
Well, just to kind of piggyback on the Kamara thing, it wouldn't even be you're taking Kamara. You're taking guys, if you're taking CMC in the first 2 rounds, You're taking guys way later. Like, but go ahead. I'm just to kind of give a perspective on the guys you were kind of targeting there. I mean, Shane, tell me if I'm wrong here. I feel like you'd kind of be like I don't know, maybe Tony Pollard, Brian Robinson Jr., like that kind of caliber of back is who you would be taking later on. Or you'd be taking shots on like high upside rookies. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, I mean, you're looking at, I mean, I have drafted plenty of hero or zero RBs where you might draft one in the first 7 to 8 rounds. So you're really, and when we get into this, you'll see I'm more of a zero or hero RB. I do have an example of a robust RB lineup that I did. It's the only one I have out of 30, but it just is. And so it just depends on how it falls. Like, so when we're talking about stacks, for me, a regular stack is 3 or more people on the same roster. When you get into like a week 17 stack, like we talked about, you're trying to get 3 people on one roster, one who they may be playing. I'm a big fan of like what Tyler kind of alluded to, like almost like a micro stack where I might draft, let's say Neighbors, and then take a dart throw, no pun intended, on Jackson Dart.
Oh, all the pun intended.
I didn't really mean to do it, but it was there.
I saw it click in your head.
I did. But so like I drafted a team today. I had Neighbors, and I wound up having Olave. Allen was my quarterback, and so I drafted Shuck and Dart late. So Allen's going to be my hero QB, but there's going to be spike weeks where the Giants or the Saints, as a non-Saints fan right now, they're disrespecting the Saints. The Saints are with Kellen Moore are going to score points. Olave, Kamara, if Shuck's the quarterback, they're going to score points. They're getting drafted really late, Mm-hmm. So when you draft like a hero QB, those guys are good to draft late because you're drafting like a wide receiver. You can get Olave in the 80 range. So as we get into these fading, targeting top 5 drafted, you'll kind of see there's certain guys that keep popping onto my rosters based on the builds. Yeah. So, but if you draft a running back in the first or second round as a hero RB, you're not drafting one till the 9th or 10th round. So the Kamaras, the Kenneth Walker, like maybe the closest person is like a Johnson from the Steelers, who might fall to the 8th or 9th round, depending on the build.
Dude, I would be ecstatic if I was able to have Caleb Johnson as an RB2.
So I'll give you this roster just to kind of give you an example.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just saying, me personally.
So my starting roster is Justin Herbert,
okay,
Caleb Johnson, Kenneth Walker. Okay. My receivers are Nico Collins, Tyreek Hill, Malik Neighbors, Calvin Ridley, and Kittle is my tight end.
All right. I like that.
So just to kind of go into the stacks of this roster, I did draft Dart. I also have Scatterboo. There's a Braylon Allen.
Ooh.
There's a Golden. There's a Kraft. So it's like a micro stack with Kraft and Golden. We have Gray from Kansas City, who's going to. Yeah. What I did was throw in what you can do with a lot of these builds. You can throw in a stack of. I threw in Lockett, Restrepo, and Cam Ward, who you can get all late. Tennessee is going to be having some games where they're going to spike points. So, it's just as different builds depending on how the roster comes to you.
Yeah, and that's one thing, and I think like a lot of new players will have to kind of get past is, yeah, but I don't want Cam Ward I don't want any like Restrepo on my team or like Lockett. It's like, look, you could only need them 1 week. It's just all about it's just trying to maximize the potential of your team and with those picks, right? Or doing the stacks like that. But Yeah, so let's get into another one. I'm gonna skip fragile RB. I feel like that's where we're kind of talking anyway. Hero and fragile RB. The next one is one that I found kind of intriguing, and that was it's just a complete zero RB build. Like, I mean, not taking one until round 6. Okay. And that's meaning like Kenneth Walker is going to be your RB1. Kind of, I've been seeing a lot of him at the like 5-6 turn, somewhere in that range. Let me get fresh perspective on this one. Joey, how would you feel about doing a draft? And I mean, not taking a running back until round 6.
I mean, if I know I could get, players that can kind of carry me for the entirety of the season, at least the first, meat of the season, then yeah, I could see myself doing that. Especially like you're saying, Kenneth Walker, players like that can get those points when I need it. And then even like Shane said, you're getting those guys who you may need for just 1 week. Maybe you're high on a guy that's, hey, I'm gonna need him week 14. Like I know he's gonna get lots of points. So it would feel weird to me for sure, but it's something that, I've tried to look at the mind of different fantasy players. And to be honest, a lot of the people that we do fantasy football with have some interesting takes and some interesting strategies, like trading the 2028 picks. But
Shout out Jono.
I was gonna say once an episode.
Yes. But I can see why that would be a good idea to take. I would still kind of feel uneasy though, not having, superstar power at running back.
That's very fair. So I'm gonna jump in real quick, Shane, on this one, and just say I like it. It has bit me in the butt before, though, 100%. Where I think this is a good year to do it, just because the draft class was so good at running back. It provides a lot more depth, and this is probably going to be my strategy for my best ball leagues, is just stack up on every other position. But man, like there are some names at running back late or that are later on that can still get you points. Like you talked about a Scattaboo, and we'll talk about him later. But look, regardless of how you feel about him, Travis Etienne is still a running back, technically still a starting running back in this league. So give me all the value. I'll take the shot in round 8 on him. Why not? You know what I mean? Like that's what I'm saying. It's just taking calculated risks. And this year, with so much talent at running back, by all means, this may be the route most people want to go. Shane, what's your feelings on it this year?
Yeah, so I think a lot of people got to remember that, and this was very prominent last year. Zero RB, whether it's redraft or best ball, blew up in your face last year because you had Saquon kill it, you had Henry kill it, Cook kill it. You had a lot of guys who you passed up to draft those receivers kill it. It's not going to happen this every year in the same way. There's a couple ways to go about it, right? So guys that are in the 60s, like Trevion Henderson, RJ Harvey with this killer rookie draft, right? You have a Judkins and a Caleb Johnson in this maybe 70s to 80s range. So depending on what you're drafting, you can get these guys. There's also a lot of second-year players that if you're going to go line up heavily, we'll kind of get in this to my top 5 drafted so far. Is like heavy with second-year players. I'm kind of loading up on these and just rolling the dice on situations. You're going to kind of see it. So, like I said, I could go through my robust RB, but when my one robust RB, once you draft those 3 or 4 players, you're throwing everything at every other roster position.
I mean, well, that's the next one we're going to talk about. So we can do that one, and then you know what? Let's start doing some. Unless y'all want to cover I feel like elite tight end, elite quarterback, kind of self-explanatory. Like you're trying to get one of those top 3 to 4 guys, like early, and then the 3 late round quarterback draft style. It's interesting to me. I feel like it's one of those things, especially if you miss out on I don't know, if you miss out on the Allen, the Lamars, of those ilk, like Jaden Daniels, why force a pick? You know what I mean? Like let the draft, like you've been saying this entire time, and I completely agree with you. Let the draft come to you. It's much easier to just let the chips fall where they may than freaking out trying to pick or like reach for people and all. You know what I mean? Because eventually somebody's going to do that for you and somebody's going to drop.
Yeah, I think you're going to see when we talk about fading and targeting and some of the stacks and stuff like that, there's going to be guys that it's tough to draft where they're going based on who's available, unless you kind of stretch it out, right? So I'll kind of just go through like a robust RB.
Yeah.
My quarterback is Mahomes.
Okay.
I have Bijan, Jonathan Taylor, and Chase Brown as my 3 RBs.
Oh.
And then so when you go through who I have left, so I obviously did a Chief stack because and we'll kind of get into this in guys I'm fading, but I took Downs, Ridley, and Worthy as my 3 starting wide receivers. And so once again, I keep kind of falling into these Titan stacks you can easily kind of piggyback those on some of these. So I have a Pat Bryant. I don't know how to Ayo Manor. I don't know if that's his right name.
Amanor.
Yeah.
Amanor or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Wide receiver from Stanford.
Keon Coleman, Abuke.
Mbuka.
Yeah, him. Restrepo. But then I threw in Dart. I threw in Gray, Spears, Strange, Tootin, and Wright. So I have kind of a mini stack with the Jaguars. I have Spears and Wright backing up Pollard and A-Chain if something happens to them. So you're really banking. Yeah, it's a cool looking team when you look at it. Just like when you do card breaks or anything like that, you're gambling at this point in time because you haven't gotten into training camp. Obviously, I'm heavy on some of these guys. This guy can get injured in training camp, and I can't do anything about it for the rest of the year.
And it's done.
So,
yeah, no, 100%.
Yeah.
Oh man, that team gets me excited just to hear.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool team when you look at it. I've had some. I'll just give you one more team that I had here before we get into it. So my last team was like a super Philly stack, which I know after the last year's conversations, but I have Hurts, Chase Brown, Pacheco, AJ Brown, CeeDee Lamb, Devonta Smith,
Jesus, okay,
Kelsey, and Adunze. And then so I have Braylon Allen, Benson, Ferguson at tight end, Garendo, Yoshavash, Dak, Royals, Tootin, Wicks, Javonte Williams, Wright. So, you're throwing a bunch of things at the wall. Running back, you don't know what's going to happen with Pacheco. Chase Brown seems pretty solid, but you have a bunch of backups. Obviously, AJ Brown, CeeDee Lamb, Devontae Smith, and you would think Adunze are going to be solid. So you pick some long shots. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it just is dependent that draft fell kind of odd to me. Hurts fell late. Devontae Smith fell late. You kind of see these builds just kind of take form on their own.
Well, that's one thing. I'm just going to go on a little sidetrack with the Eagles real quick. I think everybody just thinks that they're just not going to throw the ball anymore. And I get it that they ran the crap out of it last year. Look, things change. They're not going to want to give Saquon another 400 carries or 400 touches again. You know what I mean? Like at a certain point, you got to take something off this guy. So I really feel like it's going to open up more. So I love the Devonta Smith thing. And I feel like Devonta Smith's in for a bigger year than AJ Brown, yardage wise, but I think AJ Brown's up for another double-digit touchdown season. Just my feeling.
Yeah, I mean, Barkley had 482 touches last year with the playoffs. The Eagles don't care about fantasy or best ball. If they need to rest him, they will. If they might have an easier schedule. The one that's pretty alarming to me, and as we get into fading and targeting,
let's just start jumping into that now, since we're kind of tippy-toeing around it anyway.
Yeah. I'll give you one of the first fades, which is surprising to me, is every Chief on this list when you're drafting is low, is late, except for one name, and that's Rashid Rice. So when you look at Fantasy Pros, he's like in the 30s at 33 maybe. He's going like 16 or 15 in DraftKings right now.
You talking about overall or
overall he is gone as high as 14 or 15 as in some drafts. They've talked him up as being this, he's going to come back in and based on stats he had before he got hurt, he's not going to face any suspension. But when you look at the meat of this draft at a best ball draft, you're drafting him over Brock Bowers, Devon A-Chain, Ladd McConkey. Like, I just can't take it. Like, I get that he might have a good year. And like a couple weeks ago, he would be drafted at 20, 21 as the highest, but he's going in the teens right now.
Yeah, no shot. No shot. Not with the legal stuff going on. Not with and I love how everybody loves to point to the first 3 games of the year before he was out for the rest of the season, right? What NFL team do you know that's like, oh man, we were really great at this in the first 3 weeks of the season last year, and so we're going to carry it over? No, most of the time it's like, hey, we were really good at this at the end of the year. And who was that receiver getting all the targets? I mean, basically by necessity, but still, he was highly successful with them. Dude, to me, going to the teens is wild. And I'm probably like you fading Rashid Rice. Joey, what did you think hearing about him going in the teens? Like, I thought you said you were going to say 15th wide receiver overall, not fucking 15 overall. Good Lord, Joey. Good.
I'm still. It's like you said with the legal stuff. That's what scares me the most is, in regular fantasy, you need, every week counts. Every week matters. To me, with best ball, I feel like you kind of draft expecting things a certain type of way. So Rashid Rice, to me, being that high, I don't see it. Partly because he's probably like, if he gets in trouble, he's going to get suspended and all that. But
I mean, it's still out there.
Yeah,
like they still haven't finished the first.
They've said his legal stuff is not going to affect this year. It's going to affect next year.
Okay,
but regardless,
yeah,
you're trying to tell me a team that was in the Super Bowl, regardless of how they performed, you're trying to tell me that every other person on this team, I want to say, is in the 80s or later, and he's going in the teens. Like, it's just it's not a buy for me. I can't do it. I would maybe take some. If you drafted early in May or June, you could get him in the 3rd, sometimes the 4th round, and it's like, okay, the value's there. And when we go through this targeting list, you'll kind of see, but there's no way I'm drafting Rashid Rice in the top 20. It's not happening.
No, not at all. But so you did one of your fades. I'm gonna do one of my sleepers. Okay. We talked about it already, and I've always been kind of a big believer in this guy, and I will not sugarcoat it. Last year he was atrocious. It was not a good year for him at all. I'll give you that one. But the player I'm talking about is Travis Etienne. We've seen him do it before. He had I give it to you that the touchdowns during that RB3 overall season were insane and did fall off at the end of the year. But you're telling me he's being drafted as the 33rd running back? No, I'll take that value all day. He is still the starter in a backfield. Okay, cool. He may split times with Tank Bigsby. Bigsby's kind of shown us what he is. He's kind of I don't want to say he's not fully a plotter, but he doesn't have the electric juice. You know what I mean? He's not an explosive player. Okay, then people like to bring up Tootin. That's fine, Danny. I haven't seen him do it in the NFL yet, and he's had major fumbling issues in college. So that's one thing that's going to put you on the bench quicker than anything in the NFL is not being able to pass block and not be able to hold on to the ball. So to me, that just leaves Etienne as the explosive back, and I'm willing to take a bet, at least take a bet on that at that value at that spot. Joey, what you think, bud?
As somebody who has him in Dynasty,
you're welcome.
I don't. You could say you're welcome, but I don't. I don't feel comfortable starting him. You know, when I start a week and I see him on my starting lineup, I'm like, well, hopefully, this is going to be a good week. And unfortunately, hope isn't a good strategy. When it comes to fantasy football, you got to have somebody who's proven, who's done it.
Bro,
Etienne, to me, I don't know why he's that high. He should be lower in my mind.
This is what I'll tell you. He has done it before. I think he's finished as the third best
RB3.
RB3. He's going into a system that Liam Cohen showed. Bucky Irving and Rashad White could both score points in. He fits more the Bucky Irving role, which was the role you want to have. Where he's being drafted in best ball is a slam dunk if you are fading RB in the early rounds. I think Joey brought up a good point. This is not week-to-week fantasy. This is best ball. So you want a guy like Travis Etienne who's finished his third, who is in a good system with the head coach, and who is going to give you spike weeks. You don't need him to be consistent, but if you're drafting him where he's being drafted right now and he has 3 or 4 spike weeks, he's a stud for you. He's what you need. I think we'll get into it when we talk about stacks and stuff. Their team doesn't fit into the stack lineup, but you still need guys that if ATN finishes as a top 3 running back, he's a stud in any best ball team he's on.
Oh yeah. 100%. So, Shane, you got another fade for us, or you want to do a sleeper? Where we at now?
So I don't really have sleepers as much as targeting. So I'll let y'all do the sleepers. So I'll kind of group 2 of my guys together as guys I'm fading, which is Saquon and CMC. And it's not to hate on these guys. CMC's jumped, just so you know, as a riser. He was being drafted probably a couple weeks ago as the 16th player overall. He's pretty solid at 8. Saquon is in the 1 to 3, 4 range. I think we've talked ad nauseum, me and Tyler, maybe on air, off air. Saquon had 482 touches. If you look at the history, I'm just not buying that. When we talk about top 5 drafted so far, you'll see how much I'm not buying Saquon. And same thing as CMC, where he could get the targets. Where he's being drafted, that 8-9 range, if I could take Malik Neighbors, who I think can finish 4 or 5 in his position, if I can take some other guys like a Chain who can get 100 targets now that Jonnu Smith's gone in that offense, I'm taking him. So it's not a knock. It's not I'm never drafting CMC. When we get into stacks, 49ers is a stack that you want, but based on who's there, similar to Rashid Rice, I'm just not drafting those guys.
That's completely fair. Joey, why don't you take that one first, and I'll give my thoughts afterwards.
CMC to me is on the way out. He's still good for a touchdown a week, but
I'll take that.
Yeah.
I would take that too.
Yeah. So I think he's still a good guy to pick up. Saquon to me kind of worries me because if you're superstitious which if you're a gambler, you tend to be superstitious. He's on the Madden cover. So
that is fair.
So take that information how you want. But to me, Saquon is, I would say, maybe like a keep at arm's reach kind of player. You could still draft him and still probably do well with him, but I'd be nervous if I'm a Saquon owner in any kind of fantasy.
Look, if he falls like 10 or something, I'm like, cool, I have to take him. Like, I literally just can't not take him. Yeah.
If the value is like, why is he still here? Go for it. But
if you're talking about number 1 overall, I'm taking Jamar Chase every day, all day, and have a shit-eating grin on my face as I walk away from the draft at 1 overall. Like, but no defense and a quarterback connection that he has with Joe Burrow. Yeah, all day, every day. But talk about CMC. I'm going to be the inverse on that one. I think he's actually in for a really good season, but I can see where you're coming from. about players that may be in that same kind of bubble draft area range that you may like a little more. So I can't fault that one. I mean, you know how much I love Malik Neighbors. I feel like you threw that in there because you knew that I was going to say something about CMC, but I can't put him above Malik Neighbors. So I see what you did there. It's kind of smart. Playing freaking chess over here while I'm playing checkers, apparently. But yeah, no, I agree with pretty much everything you said, man. It's good, insightful take there. So I don't have anything to add. And Joey, that was good on that one as well. So speaking of Joey, why don't you take the next sleeper we had on our list?
So next sleeper we have Rashid Shaheed. Again, he was Derek Carr's boy when he was here. Now, got hurt. Didn't pan out the way he wanted. Basically, the Saints wide receiving core at one point was, okay, who's the guy this week? Okay, who's the guy that week? When Rashid is healthy, he's fast. He can get down the field on those go routes. He can get you points. And I think with this Kellen Moore offense, he's going to score lots of points. And I think he's going to be that guy that Tyler Shuck is going to be looking for downfield on those deep throws easily. So I think that's a guy y'all should be looking at. I don't think he gets enough love.
Currently wide receiver 55, according to Fantasy Pros. I will say, or that's his average draft position, I should say. I couldn't agree more. The explosiveness and the big playability is really what you're kind of looking for in best ball is those big spike weeks. So even though he may not end up having the greatest points per games, but if you have him on your roster and he hits the 30 or drops a 30 burger, drops a 40 burger on there, just saying that's key to have. But I will also say I think in the Kellen Moore offense, I'm glad you brought that up, Joey, is that he's going to have a more diverse route tree. So you should see him running more drag routes. He's still doing things other than just running up the sideline that gets his speed and utilizes it as the weapon that it is. Shane, what do you think about Mr. Shaheed?
Yeah, so similar to the Titans stack that I've done late, I'm going to focus on getting some of these Saints stacks late. You can get Olave around 81. You can get Shaheed, Tyler Shuck. You can almost get in the last round. So those guys in Kellen Moore's system are going to score points. I mean, it's not like it's. I would be a little more nervous if it was like Arthur Smith calling the plays, but you've got an offensive-minded coach who just won the Super Bowl with dynamic playmakers. So Shaheed's a dynamic playmaker. I don't have a lot of exposure to him yet, but he's on my target list. It's a great call from y'all. He's definitely a guy you want to target.
Also, before you go, Tyler, you mentioned Fantasy Pros rankings. I do have them in front of me. He is 52nd on the wide receiver list.
Yeah,
for best ball.
No, it was my mistake. That's his ADP, his average draft position for wide receiver is 55.
But just so people know, Fantasy Pros has him ranked at 52nd.
Appreciate you, Joey, on that one. Catching my flubs. Anyway, Shane, why don't you give us another target or fade, whatever you got going, whatever next in the chamber.
Yeah, so two guys, kind of similar range. James Cook, Kyron Williams. James Cook, I don't think is going to have 17 touchdowns again. I think they're going to mix. I think they're going to mix Ray Davis in based on where he's going drafted. And then Kyron Williams is a guy I like. He doesn't have the contract. And then it's strictly where players that are being drafted around him. There's those top tier quarterbacks. You're still looking at potentially Jaden Daniels, Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow. When you look at building a roster and building a team, I can't see taking him over any of those quarterbacks. Quarterbacks are a little bit more of a premium. I don't think James Cook's going to do it as much. So when I build like a Bills stack, I fade Cook. It's tough unless you get Josh Allen early in the third round to get Shakir. So I build like a Josh Allen, Ray Davis, Coleman, Kincaid super stack. Whereas I kind of fade the two guys that they're going to say are going to be the bigger components. Yeah. So those two guys are guys that I don't have a lot of exposure to. I think I have a Kyron Williams who's fallen to the fifth round early based on some of those situations. But and it's not knocking those guys if you're in redraft and you take them, but I think that's the big thing that to point out here is there's a huge difference between redraft leagues and best ball leagues. There's a lot of strategy. There's a lot of gambling on statistics and stacks based on, like, if Kyron Williams falls to you in the 4th round of redraft league, you're pulling the trigger. No questions asked. He's going to get the ball this year, but you're banking on a lot of other factors.
So that is a great point. I do want to kind of like sidetrack for a little bit, talking about Kyron Williams' contract. It's worrisome, right? Like, this is also a team that paid Todd Gurley. Like, I mean, with the knowledge that he probably wasn't going to be able to move in a season or two. You know what I mean? So for them not to have a, like, attaboy, like, thanks for the 2 years of double-digit touchdowns kind of thing is a little concerning, right? And they keep taking running backs, like, in the 3rd, 4th round. It's just a fun fact, I am a Dynasty doctor, so it did pique my interest there. Speak a little Dynasty.
One thing I'll piggyback on that, and I think it's a good thing to talk about him and Brees Hall. I heard a podcast today. These guys could sign somewhere. Great situation for them, right? Where, like, Josh Jacobs, right? He went to Green Bay and he had this great year where people were fading him because they didn't think he was going to do anything. Kyron Williams and Brees Hall could both go sign somewhere that's very running back friendly, and it reinvigorates their dynasty stature or their best ball stature. But banking on this year, you just have to take solid picks versus the question marks.
You know what? I'm gonna push back on the Kyron Williams going somewhere else and being as effective. I think this is a marriage of perfect back for the perfect, like, skill set that they want that running back to play. It's just an observation. I don't know if he goes to, like, somewhere else he gets featured as heavy, because it just seems like Sean McVay loves him. But anyway, look, I digress.
Yeah, I'm kind of with Tyler a little bit originally, where I don't see him getting the touches that he gets with LA anywhere else. He's in the system he's in, and he's got the coach he's got that loves him. And until that coach leaves, I don't think he's going anywhere.
I do think it's the worst.
Yeah, the coach that loves him won't sign him to a contract, which is why a lot of people fade him, which is tough. He loves him. There's very few people, trust me, I agree with y'all, but there's very few places he could go next year. Like, if Derrick Henry retired and he went to Baltimore, do I think that Baltimore feeds him the ball? Is he as effective? Probably not. But he still is just I think Tyler can see this. I traded him in our dynasty league and moved on from him and Hall based on their question marks. I'd rather bank on proven talent or rookie talent based on their situation.
Yeah. No, I get that 100%. So I'm going to touch on one more sleeper real quick, and then we can talk fades, and then we start getting to our stack list. How's that sound, gentlemen?
Sounds good.
So the last one I'm going to talk about is Tucker Kraft. And just because I want to get a little variety, we haven't shown the tight ends much love. And yes, people, there are tight ends after.
There's tight ends after Travis Kelce?
Yeah.
I would say after Kittle.
After Kittle. There are tight ends after Kittle. And the only reason I like Tucker Kraft is that, his average ADP for tight end is actually 11.5, 12. So he's the clear-cut starter. Like, even when they had Luke Musgrave back, he played like 90-something% of the snaps. So he's the clear-cut starter. And I just feel like with a healthier Jordan Love this year, because he wasn't right most of the year, right? And it became kind of this run-heavy offense out of necessity more out of than wanting to. So I just feel like Tucker Kraft is a good late round tight end you can take and still get really solid starter value. Probably mid to late tight end one numbers.
Oh, can I take this, Joey?
Yeah,
sorry.
All you, buddy.
So just so you know, in my targeting list, if it's not top 3 tight ends, the top person I have drafted so far out of 30 leagues is Tucker Kraft. His average draft spot is about 128, his ranking, 128, 131. If you fade the top 3 tight ends, to me, he's the clear-cut pick to build your team around. You could draft him, and then you could take a couple shots on it. But to me, I feel as confident taking Tucker Kraft as I take George Kittle. That's how confident I am in Tucker Kraft this year. I've drafted him in any league that I don't have a top 3 tight end. He is my tight end.
Very nice. Very nice. Okay. That makes me feel better about my pick.
Very good pick, Tyler.
You know, I do what I can.
He's got to make you feel better.
Look, that is the confidence boost I needed today. I feel like a very attractive woman. I just got catcalled. I feel nice. Still confidence boost. Anyway, Joey, back to it. What you got, buddy?
I like Tucker Kraft. I mean,
Joey's like, he's a piece of shit.
Yeah, no,
yeah, that's what I was waiting for. It's like,
yeah. He's got tremendous upside. You know, saying that he's 11th ADP, you know, that says something about him for sure. But it'll be like, I think this best ball thing to me is just kind of, I wouldn't go his route necessarily if I'm drafting a tight end. I'd probably go maybe more, you know, Mark Andrews or Isaiah Likely. But if I had to kind of fade one.
So what I'll tell you, Joey, is you almost have to draft both of those guys because it's a coin flip week in and week out. Like Isaiah Likely, until Mark Andrews retires or moves off that team, it's a tough spot. I think what I'll tell you is, as bullish as I am on tight end, Kraft's my 4th tight end overall behind Kittle. And then it's like Njoku. Like, ooh. Yeah, like that's like when you look at situation. When you look at situations and look at points, I had Jonnu Smith up high, and then he went to Arthur Smith, and I'm not. Look, I'm not betting on a lost horse here. He might do well there, but when you start looking at the question marks that are tight ends behind him, you know, you're banking on, like, I feel better about Loveland and Warren than some of these established guys, right? Is Ingram going to show up in Denver? You know, who's going to get the ball? Andrews are Likely. You know, now there's Freiermuth and Jonnu Smith. So whereas I think you can look at this position and say, hey, this guy's going to get the ball and he's going to get red zone targets.
I'm gonna give you 2, okay? And just TJ Hawkinson.
Okay.
And Laporta.
Health issue.
Well, no, I get the Hawkinson one, but I mean he's a year moved off that ACL.
I've got some Hawkinson exposure, and I've got some Laporta exposure. What I will tell you when we get into the stacks and get into maybe trends that I don't necessarily get, there's a lot of Lions hate when you look at these best ball drafts, and it's not coming from me. And we all know how me and Tyler feel about Jameson Williams, but Amon-Ra St. Brown falling into the 15th, 16th pick in a lot of these drafts. Laporta fall into the 70s as a tight end. You can build the Detroit stack, but there's a lot of experts who feel both coordinators leaving. They're just all fading the Lions based on them taking a step back.
All right. I'm going to say something on the record on this podcast, and it's going to give me a lot of crap.
Let me write it down.
Shit. There's got to be about Jameson Williams.
Outside of Jahmyr Gibbs, based on value and the best ball format, the Lions player I want is Jameson Williams.
I don't think that's a big leap.
No, but the amount of
you're saying, hey, you're banking on statistics, and Jameson Williams is a prototypical spike week player.
100%.
That where you can draft him if you went robust or maybe multi RB, you went heavy QB tight end. You want that guy as a receiver because he can get some heavy weeks. It's different than a dynasty or regular draft league.
Felt weird saying that.
Oof.
But one more thing, and I'm gonna say the other perfect just spike week guy, Rashad Bateman.
Oh yeah, he's high on a lot of people.
Yeah, just because he's gonna drop. There's always one or two weird Rashad Bateman games where he drops like 30 points. You know what I mean? It's just you got to make sure you have him on your team for stuff like that. But Shane, I think I've held you up long enough. Unless there's anything else want to add, you want to start getting to your stacking?
Yeah, so I'll just to give you real quick. We talked about Tucker Kraft, guys. So this will show you like there's plenty of people that we all like. The top 5 people I've drafted so far are Tucker Kraft, Wright from Miami, Braylon Allen from the Jets, Kyle Williams from the Patriots, and Caleb Johnson. So that'll show you that I went really how I'm banking on a lot of late round running backs. Kyle Williams has been like I've drafted 4 or 5 good wide receivers. I've gotten him in that 180 range. Those are kind of guys I've drafted as the top 5. So getting into stacks, okay? So the expert opinion. Week 17 is just so you guys know, Joey, you haven't played this. You're supposed to build for week 17. So the top championship week, top week 17 stacks, Bucks versus Miami, Arizona versus the Bengals, Cowboys versus the Commanders, Lions versus the Vikings, Bears versus the 49ers. So before we kind of dive into that, there's only 3 teams that are top-rated stacks in the top 5 for weeks 15, 16, and 17, which in the best ball format after week 14, Joey, you have to win week 15, top 2, finish top 2, 16, and then you have to finish in the top 17.
But here's the caveat, though. In some leagues, like when you get in these playoffs kind of thing, you start facing people that could have the same people as you do.
Correct.
So there could be some canceling out there. Just wanted to throw that caveat in there.
So, but if you're trying to stack for those championship weeks, it is Bengals, Bucks, Cowboys.
Okay.
The only other team that has 2 spots in that, and it's not week 17, it's week 15 and 16, is the Atlanta Falcons. Yeah, I know. So let's go into the top. So week 17 stack, top 1 is Bucks, Dolphins, right?
Yeah, you said the over-under is 48 already?
47.5 for Bucks, Miami, AZ versus Bengals. So the top 2 stacks have a over-under 47.5.
Okay.
So just to kind of break down, to get a Bucks stack, right, Evans is in the 34 range.
Okay.
Bucky Irvin is the 22nd to 25th person, but then you can kind of start getting you would fade Godwin. Godwin's not probably going to start the year. You would probably want to go Mbuka. Baker's like in the 90 range. The one thing I'll tell you, and I'll ask you guys this: big injury issue to start the year. Tristan Wirfs out for at least the first 4 games.
Yep.
Does that affect if you're looking at these top stacks? Does that affect you stacking these guys?
Joey, let's take that first.
If it's an injury that I know he'll be back week 4, week 5, no. But if it's something that I feel like it's going to be something that will be kind of that nagging injury throughout the year, it kind of throws up a flag. But if it's if it's going to be that good of a game for Tampa Bay, for instance, I'll risk it.
That's a really good point. I'm glad you brought up the fact that it could be like a nagging one throughout the year, right? It's kind of one of those things where it's either I want him to know he's going to be back fully healthy week 5 or just be out the rest of the year. Because you want to build that continuity on the offensive line. So it would really depend on that. Everything I've seen, it shouldn't be a whole year thing. He's just coming back for something. So as long as it's not a nagging thing or someone's going to linger, it wouldn't affect me that much. But Joe, that was a good point though about the linger. I didn't think about that. I'm like, oh, he's back. He's fine. So, but yeah, I do want to talk about and I'm glad you kind of brought this up. So, and I haven't looked at the stats or anything like that, but like for the Bengals, right? The reason why they're not the top one is because they're so expensive to get. Like you have to spend the 101 if you're going to chase route, right? The 101, I'm assuming you have to probably spend a 4th to 5th round pick for Joe Burrow, like, and then maybe T in the 4th round too as well. Like
T Higgins is going 22nd to 24th.
Okay,
So to give you an idea, if you have the 101 to stack the Bengals, you'd have to go 3 or 4 rounds in a row of Bengals players. You'd have to go Chase, Higgins, Brown, and hope that Burrow falls to you. So what you'll see a lot of people doing is the Chase Brown stack's pretty easy to get.
Yeah,
you potentially can luck into Burrow, but a lot of times you'll get the Higgins Burrow stack or the Higgins Brown Burrow stack. It's a tough stack to get, similar to when you look at these stacks like Arizona. McBride's going in the 20 range.
Yeah.
Marvin Harrison Jr. is in the 30 range. So a lot of people will try to go maybe one of those guys, either Marvin Harrison Jr., McBride, go Murray, and then maybe go Benson. A lot of people will fade Connor. When you look go ahead.
No, I was saying eventually Connor's gotta just get old.
Yeah, and so like for Miami, you can easily get A-Chain and really Miami out of the top 4 stacks is the easiest one to get because you can get A-Chain, Hill, Waddle, Tua, Wright. And then if you want to take a shot on Waller, I'm not, but you can get those guys. More fun stacks to try. Cowboys is the 3rd stack. If you can get Lamb, you can pretty much get the rest of those guys.
Yeah, I was about to say Lamb's probably gonna be the only issue for that one.
Bear stack's interesting because you don't have to really pay a high premium if you go Williams, Odunze, Loveland. Moore might be the highest one. He's like in the 4th round. You kind of can get, I guess this is a good question for y'all. Would you fade McLaurin with everything that's going on with him and then try to maybe bank on like a Debo? You easily can get Sinnett in the last pick. So you could take Ertz and Sinnett and then, have that kind of stack with those guys.
Yeah, that was my thinking. Honestly, if we're going that route, it's just I would fade him and then just grab Debo and just go from there. I'll tell you one that's kind of intriguing, at least to me, was if you grab him high enough, it has to be the Justin Jefferson stack, the Viking stack, right? Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and it depends if you're a JJ McCarthy believer too. I'm just talking about pure value wise. Like there should not be an issue at all to grab.
Yeah, you could easily grab Jefferson, Hawkinson. Mason's a big target later. There's 2 stacks on here that I really like doing, which is obviously with the Kraft stack is the Jordan Love, either grabbing Golden or Reed. They're around the same spot in the 80s. Grabbing Kraft, grabbing those guys. And then the Jaguar stack, I mean, you've got Brian Thomas Jr. so high. I've kind of faded Hunter, but De'Ami Brown is a guy you can get at like pick 201 that just has so much potential. If they're going to play Hunter on both sides of the field, sometimes he's going to need a breather. They paid him some good money. That's like almost like a Titan stack that I'm grabbing because not a lot of people are paying attention to it.
I mean, the only thing I would push back on that one is that do you trust Trevor Lawrence to actually be that guy finally?
I like the system he's in. If it's ever going to happen, it's going to be in this system. I'm not really banking. I don't think I've drafted Trevor Lawrence once.
Yeah,
I
no,
think
I'm just
more of the system he's in. I think it's very similar to some of these other situations where like you might like I like Bo Nix this year. I don't know who his target's going to be. So where I've grabbed Bo Nix and RJ Harvey, I've thrown in different variations of Pat Bryant, Cortland Sutton. You can get Vele late. You can, there's
Mims late.
Mims, I haven't really grabbed Ingram just because I don't know what he's going to do. So there's different ways to attack those stacks.
That's one guy talking about Ingram that everybody's super high on this year, and I'm like, yeah, I get it. He's going to Sean Payton, who likes tight ends, and they just don't have any other really receivers. But it's like, I don't know, man. I just had a wonky feeling about him. But anyway, I got a question for y'all. Okay, it's be more of the funny side. It's not really serious. How do y'all feel about sniping when it comes to these drafts? Okay, and what I mean by that is, for those who don't know, is let's say I see Shane grab Jamar Chase at 1. Then I see him grab Chase Brown coming around again. I see what he's doing. He's trying to do a Bengal stack. Do you think it's a jerk move to purposely draft Joe Burrow just to be like, hey, I'm just going to nip this in the bud right here? Joey, what you think about that?
You got to win somehow.
Okay. All right.
I mean, to me, what's going to happen? Let's say you see Shane doing that. Is Shane going to give you some, if it's for money, is he going to give you some of that money for allowing it?
Oh, I was just it's gamesmanship. That's what I was just asking. I was just wondering what y'all's opinion was.
It's something where I hate to use this analogy, but it's like you're at a baseball game, you see a guy tipping pitches, you're not going to be like, hey man, you're bringing your arm in on a breaking ball. You're not going to go tell him that. You're going to be like, you'll tell your teammates that. You'll tell yourself that. Be like, I see what he's doing. I want Joe Burrow.
That's fair.
I think it's a good point from Tyler, which will lead to maybe a separate thing. There's two versions of drafting in best ball, at least for DraftKings: slow and fast. When it's fast, you're so hyper focused on your team that you might not recognize what other people are doing. Where you have 8 hours to pick on slow, you can kind of see what everybody's doing, look at the draft board. I think it's a great thing. If a guy has Chase Brown and Chase, I'll take Joe Burrow as my starting quarterback, because if he's getting those points from those two guys, I'm getting the guy that's throwing them the points, hopefully dumping the ball off to Chase Brown. So all based on strategy. I think it's definitely something that needs to happen. And I've had it happen to me easily,
Oh, hundreds of times. I feel like over my lifetime of any kind of draft, always getting sniped. And there's one thing we talked about a lot here, and it's just really my last point I have for best ball is handcuff everything. If you're buying into Jamar Chase, try to get Andre Ishivas as well later on in the draft. It doesn't necessarily have to be T. Higgins, but make sure you're grabbing your people's backups. There's no, especially your high end talented players. For me, if you're grabbing Justin Jefferson, you should be drafting Jordan Addison as well, just in case if he goes down, you're still getting that production. That's just my point of view. And that's really all I have for that I had left. Other than my honorable mention sleeper is Drake May, which I think we talked about off air. I think he's going to take a huge step forward this year. Better coach, better offensive line, weapons galore. He has more weapons now. I think the sky's the limit for him. But
another great stack. Hampton's probably the highest guy at 62, 61. You can get Drake May, Hunter Henry, Kyle Williams. I think Stephon Diggs is the next guy at 82, 83. So you could really super stack that offense, and you're picking the best players in the first 5 rounds, almost in 5, 7, 9, and then you're just you're picking those Patriots. The one thing I'll ask, and it's something I've noticed that I don't do, and our guy Jeff, who's in our Dynasty League, mentioned, he drafts 3 quarterbacks, 3 tight ends, where based on who I'm drafting, if I get a solid quarterback and a solid tight end, I only go 2 and 2 and stack running back and receiver. So I'm curious. I know Joey hasn't drafted these, but Tyler, are you drafting 2 and 2 tight end quarterback, or are you going 3 and 3?
Unless I've gotten unless I'm just bottom of the barrel, my first tight end I'm taking, most of the time I'm going 2 and 2. It is what it is. I'm taking as many dart throws and shots at running back and wide receiver as I can.
Okay.
That's just my opinion. Joey, what you think, buddy? When you get into your first best ball draft this year, which you will, how do you think you're gonna feel? You think you're gonna get more tight ends, like 3 tight ends, 3 quarterbacks, like Cam was saying?
I'll probably end up getting more. I don't know. I feel like I'm gonna try to be as balanced as possible. I don't want to. My question is this. Okay, again, like you said, I've never done a best ball draft.
Yeah, no.
Are you limited, or are you forced to take that many quarterbacks, or is it a situation where you could take 2 if you wanted? I'm not going to take 1. That would be really stupid. But can you take just 2 and then have 4 tight ends, or do you have to take 3 quarterbacks, 3 tight ends?
You technically could take no tight end and no quarterback. They don't force you to do anything. So
I didn't know. So I would probably go 2 quarterbacks just because, and then maybe 4 tight ends, just because I think that, interceptions are going to hurt you, and that just having that as like a possibility. Like I would rather have somebody catching the ball and running it down the field than throwing the ball and missing.
No. Okay. So I think you're focusing on quarterback and tight end, which.
Well, I'm only using those as the example. Yeah, I'm only using that as an example.
So what me and Shane are saying is, would you rather have so to me, having those extra tight ends is just like a waste of a roster spot, right? Like where I could take another running back or wide receiver on the positions that I play multiple of them on, right? Like most of the time, my tight end's not going to be in my flex spot, just pure points wise. Now, unless you got Bowers and McBride some way that, hey, hats off to you, use that extra flex spot for that tight end. But I think that's what I just want to clarify that a little bit is what the more roster construction question than which position you'd rather have. You know? I got you.
Yeah, so then honestly, to me, I would feel, because you said that, because of you explained that part to me, that taking an extra tight end is kind of wasting a spot to an extent. Did I hear you correct?
Yeah. I mean, it's just the odds of it. I hate to use the point of wasting, but it's just the odds of them making a contribution. You have
a better chance. You have a better chance of a competition between just because you said quarterbacks, of 3 quarterbacks getting close and maybe one getting a little, getting that edge, as opposed to 2 tight ends. There's a clear favorite of tight end, and that's going to be every week. Right. So I would probably just do, 2 quarterbacks, 2 tight ends, and then just go heavy wide receiver, running back.
Yeah, you take your dart throws. I got you.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So I think, and so when you look at these, when you look at these builds, if you fade tight end late, there's nothing wrong, I think, with taking 3. If you fade quarterback late, there's nothing wrong with taking 3, because you're going to hope to get the best of the 3 week in and week out. I think if you take a quarterback or a tight end high, if you have a top 6 quarterback, top 3 or 4 tight end, you have to roll the dice on they're going to be your week in and week out scorer. You want to get the most out of running back, wide receiver.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I mean, and it all comes down to how you like to play it and how the draft kind of comes to you, like roster construction wise. You know what I mean? Because like if I'm taking Brock Bowers, probably not taking a tight end until very, very late. So
yeah, the only situation I'll tell you, and when I was doing the research for this episode, I had where Laporta fell to like 80 or 90, and I just couldn't. I took Brock Bowers in the second round, and I have Laporta is in my flex. I just couldn't pass it up based on who was there. I think as you draft, you're going to run into those situations. I ran into one today. Joe Mixon's like 57 and he was available at like 81. At that point in time, you have to take the best available player and just build around it.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's pretty much all I got for this episode, gentlemen. Anything else y'all got to add?
I love best ball. That's all I'm telling you.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
I have a question. And this is, you probably already said this episode, but I just kind of want to see if it sparks a little bit of a debate.
Gotcha.
What is the best strategy when it comes to best ball? Of the strategies we've talked about, what is the best one in your mind?
I'll take this one.
Mm-hmm.
I've already said it for this year. I would probably lean more 0 RB. But in years past, I'm probably going a hero RB build just to make sure you get that little bit of that security blanket. You know what I mean? At the running back position, you hope you grab one of the studs and then just fill everything else in. But that's probably the best play that I would say for this year. But I'm going to go with the 0 RB build just because I feel like it's going to be a little more fun to do. Shane, what about you, buddy?
100% agree with you, Tyler. If we're going general, 0 RB or hero RB, I also think it does determine the draft spot determines what you're going to do. I think you're going to fall into first spot easily 0 RB based on who's going to fall to you between the McBride. You have AJ Brown could potentially fall to you with Chase. Whereas, second, third spot, fifth, seventh spot could be hero RB, and then you start getting back in. So it just depends on a draft position. But overall, I'm going to lean towards 0 RB than hero RB. Robust RB, where it can look nice, you legitimately have to start 3 wide receivers each week. So if you don't hit on those receivers, it just could tank your whole team.
Yup. 100%. But that was a good question, though. But I will say, I'm intrigued about trying, and I probably will do one as the 3 late round QB one, just because I'm intrigued. Because I've never been like, all right, I am targeting these guys late in like the 9th round, 10th round. You know what I mean? Like,
I almost want to set a challenge for us. Shane, you said how many best balls you got?
30.
Okay, I say we take 3 of the strategies. We pick the same 3, and we do all 3 of them, right? And see which one does better for who. So Shane's going to be the clear expert.
Yeah,
it's basically say like 1, how would I do against Shane, and then 2, see what works for all of us and see which one worked the best.
I'm down. Let's do it.
So what I'll tell you is on DraftKings, which I don't know what else is live here. I don't think, but so there's a $3 20 team max. You can the max prize is like 1.5 million. That's what I would suggest doing. I'm going to max out those 20 teams.
Let's do it.
So I think I have 3 teams left to do. I'm down to do that challenge, but that's the ones. It'll cost you $9 to do 3 different types of builds.
All right, so cool. Are we going to talk about it? Let's take some time to think about it.
Yeah,
about how we're going to just and how about we do this? We each pick one for each other, and then we get to pick whatever's left. We get to pick the last one. So Joey, you're picking one for me. Shane, you're picking one for me. And that one, when that's after y'all's 2, I pick one that's left.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be most challenging. Well, all right. Well, we're gonna have to report back next week and show our rosters off.
I love it.
Well, with that being said, it's time to wrap up another edition of the Noble Studies Sort of Sports Talk. And wow, they changed out the layout on me here. Oh, there we go. I'm your host, Tyler, one half of the Dynasty Doctors, here with my co-host, Joey, our resident, who is gradually becoming a Dynasty Doctor himself, and Shane O'Mac, the other half of the Dynasty Doctors. Till next time, we are the Noble Studies Sports Talk. Later.